This is the first sentence of George Washington's first inaugural address. Among the vicissitudes incident to life, no event could have filled me with greater anxieties than that of which the notification was transmitted by your order and received on the 14th day of the present month. Washington's speech was at a college reading level, grade 20. Fast forward 220 years, and Obama's inaugural address was the reading level of a high school freshman. Trump's inaugural address 8 years later was at a middle school reading level. And here's the reading level of every president in between. Talk about a downward trend. It's because of something that happened here. There is no mention of the State of the Union or the inaugural address in the Constitution, but George Washington made speeches for both anyway. Of course, he was just addressing Congress, which was around 80 of his fellow rich, white, male friends. The Flesch-Kincaid Reading Ease formula ranks it as one of the most difficult speeches in American history. It's what researchers used to rank the difficulty of all of these speeches. The formula was originally developed by the U.S. Navy in the 1970s to determine how clear military instruction manuals were. It measured two variables: the amount of syllables in a word and the number of words in a sentence. So a blurb like, "Cheddar is a cool company. We make fun videos. Sometimes they're for learning. They're for an online website called YouTube. We also have 2 TV channels. It's fun to see our YouTube videos on TV. Then, our parents actually think that we have jobs." Has a Flesch-Kincaid Reading Ease score of 82, making it a 4th grade reading level. And a blurb like this: "At Cheddar, we make engaging and informative video content for YouTube viewers that want answers to questions they never realized they had. Cheddar posts these informative and enlightening videos on a digital platform called YouTube. The explanatory videos are also broadcasted on Cheddar's 2 cable TV channels. It's fulfilling and exhilarating to see our content shared on cable news." Has a Flesch Reading Ease score of 45, making it an 11th grade reading level. As you can see, or hear, this scale is just based on syllables and sentence length, not the ideas actually being conveyed, which are the same in both of these blurbs. But it's a good indicator of how difficult presidential speeches are. But you might be thinking, Allie, that's not very scientific method of you. What about the content of these speeches? And you'd be right, which is why we're going to look at the top 15 words mentioned in speeches by every president since Eisenhower. Let's get that out onto a graph. Nice. Now that we've got that laid out, let's look at the differences between these lists. LBJ and Nixon both talk about Vietnam. Carter and Reagan have mentions of the Soviet Union and nuclear fears. Bush and his son both have Saddam on their lists. Variations of the word Iraq or ISIS also show up on Obama and Trump's list. But besides these period-specific issues, the topics are pretty similar. Themes like the economy, party lines, health, and energy show up again and again. Mentions of political opponents and the president's loved ones also show up frequently. The similarities vastly outweigh the differences. So we know that while rhetorical difficulty has declined, the topics have remained somewhat similar. What gives? We can trace it back to a rhetorical drop-off in the 1920s. This dip right here. But what actually caused the decline? There were 3 big shifts in our democracy that caused not the politicians, but the constituents to change. The first big change to the voting population took place in 1913 with the passing of the 17th Amendment. It allowed for the direct election of senators. Previously, senators had been elected by the state legislatures. It was changed because there were some significant problems with that process. State legislatures would become deadlocked for months, leading to Senate vacancies. In other cases, political machines would gain control over the state legislatures, and the elected senators were considered their puppets, according to Brown University's Political Review. The second was in 1920. The 19th Amendment was passed, giving women the right to vote. I don't think I need to explain what was going on previously. The third was a country-wide shift towards more and better public education. More young Americans became involved in politics than ever before. But with these three changes and the advent of the radio, presidents now had to speak to people they never addressed before. People who didn't know or care how high society their speeches sounded. They wanted someone who sounded like them. And they weren't talking with college-level rhetoric in day-to-day life. There's been a lot more change in the past 5 years than just getting a new president. In fact, the entire way we consume news and media has changed from cable TV and newspapers to YouTube's smash highlights and politicians duking it out on Twitter. Like in the 1920s, politics is facing a radical shift towards being even more in line with average American communication. You can email or tweet any politician at any time, and they're pretty likely to see it. That means that politicians' communications are trying to be as accessible to the general population as possible. It's a contributing factor as to why rhetoric has taken a nosedive. Things are changing rapidly. But is this tide of change a good thing or a bad thing? We'll let you decide. Let us know in the comments what you think of the downward slide of presidential rhetoric and the upward trajectory of understanding. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for post notifications, and thanks for watching this video. We'll see you around next time.